Hello and welcome to another Doctor Who breakdown. But before this video begins, two quick updates. Now I know I talked about my ADHD in the last video. That is still important. But I don't have to keep talking about it every single episode though, of this breakdown series. So I won't. But I do want to reiterate that it is a very important thing. And if I do forget to make a video, or I intend to make one, and then I don't do it, and then the video arrives later, then like in the last video, I am really sorry for that. But with that out of the way, again, let's get on with the video. Aliens of London, which aired on the 16th of April 2005, written by Russell T Davies. The plot is going to get a 4. Now, this episode was enjoyable, I did like this episode, but the one thing I have with this episode is, A, how did the government not know that these 3 random people showed up and took control and took command of Parliament? And B, what, the government didn't realise they were aliens in skin suits? And C, how do those skin suits actually work? Because does a skin suit actually, like, protect them? Or do the skin suits, like, I don't know, make other people forget that they're not aliens? I get the fact that the skin suits hide the fact they're aliens, but, like, how does that work, exactly? And D, how the hell were they allowed to have a missile? Like, how are they allowed to have the launch codes? I get the fact that one of them became the Prime Minister, but, like, seriously though, what? Characterization is going to get a 5, as always. The characters are well written in this episode. Rose was brilliantly written in this episode. The Doctor was brilliantly written in this episode. Harriet Jones was written brilliantly in this episode. She's like one of my favourite characters. I can't wait for her to come back in a later breakdown. She's fantastic. She's awesome. She's great. She's brilliant. Britain's Golden Age. Mickey was brilliant in this episode. Jackie was also quite good in this episode, actually. The Slitheen, they were written okay, I think. But a lot of it was, like, fart jokes. Yeah. A lot of it was fart jokes. Visuals is going to get a 4. The design of the Slitheen I thought was absolutely awesome. Brilliant. Fantastic, even. But the spaceship hasn't aged well. But the pig design, that was pretty cool. The pig alien, that was awesome. Importance, it's going to get a 5. Now, simply because of Boomtown, and like in the previous breakdown, I will get to Boomtown, I promise. And as for entertainment, it's got a 4. Because I did enjoy this episode for the most part, but still again, how the hell are the Slitheen allowed to have the launch codes to literally launch a bloody missile? But anyway, that doesn't matter. We'll move swiftly on. And here is the ratings for this episode. The plot got a 4, the characterization got a 5, visuals got a 4, importance got a 5, and entertainment got a 4. So that basically means this episode was an enjoyable episode. But what about part 2? Is part 2 better? Well, let's find out. World War III, which aired on the 23rd of April 2005. Also written by Russell T Davies. Plot, it's going to get a 3. So basically, this episode's not that much better than the first part, but I do prefer this episode to the first part anyway, because there's a lot of stuff I actually quite like in this episode, actually. But still, the episode in terms of plot, this episode still gets a 3. And still, how the hell did the government let the Slitheen still have the launch codes to literally launch a bloody missile? I guess we'll never know the answer to that. I guess we'll never know. And that is why the episode still gets a plot as a 3. So, there. Characterization, it gets a 4. The characterization was actually quite good in this episode, but the characterization, I think, was better in the first part, to be fair. But the episode doesn't really falter for this, and the characterization isn't that bad in this part, actually. If anything, I kind of think it's better in this part, but I had to give a score of 4 in this part, mainly because I felt like the Slitheen in particular, their characterization kind of went down to a 4. That's why the characterization is a 4. Not the main cast. The main cast were excellent in this episode, but it was the main villains. That's why the characterization is a 4. So, there you go. Visuals is going to get a 3, and that is only because of the Slitheen. The designs are really cool, but the CGI effects in this episode have not aged well. Especially when Parliament or Downing Street gets blown up at the end. Yeah, the fire effects in that scene haven't aged very well, so yeah. As for importance, it's still going to get a 5 because of Boomtown, and like in part 1, I will get to Boomtown, I promise. And as for entertainment, it's going to get a 3. I did enjoy this episode, but the other episode was more enjoyable, I guess. But the ending was good. The ending was really good. The ending was good. The fact that the human race decided to believe that the aliens weren't real, and that the whole thing was a hoax, and everybody was panicking for literally no reason. So, yeah, the ending was good in this episode. The ending was good. So, yeah, that was World War 3. Was it better than part 1? No. But I did enjoy this episode. So there you go. And here's the episode ratings for this episode. Plot got a 3, characterization got a 4, visuals got a 3, importance got a 5, and entertainment got a 3. So basically, this episode was really good, but part 1 was kind of better still. So, that was World War 3. So, is the next episode, Dalek, better than this episode? Well, let's find out. Dalek, written by Robert Sherman, which first aired on the 30th of April 2005. Plot, it's gonna get a 3. This episode was boring. This episode was literally boring. Like, nothing happened. The Dalek escaped. The Dalek exterminated a few people, sure. And then at the end, the Dalek committed suicide. Like, it blew itself up. So really, this episode didn't accomplish anything. This episode is kind of pointless, if you really think about it. So the episode is just going to get a 3 in plot. This episode was really boring. I'm sorry. But, I'm sorry if you like this episode, but this episode was really, really, really boring. Characterization is going to get a 4. The characters felt really boring in this episode, and they kind of felt like they were, I don't know, like, phoned in. But Rose was written brilliantly, though. The Doctor, however, was written out of character, so that didn't work. Adam was written like an absolute idiot. Henry Van Staten was written like an absolute idiot as well. Literally, the characters in this episode were just boring. They were like really, really boring. And most of them, besides the Doctor and Rose, most of them felt like they were phoning it in. You know, because of the script. Visuals, it's gonna get a 3. It's another one of those episodes where the visuals are kind of bad, and the visuals are kind of awful, and the visuals haven't aged very well. The Daleks effects were okay, I suppose, but yeah, there you go. As for importance, it's gonna get a 5, unfortunately, because of the finale. So there's that. As for entertainment, it's only going to get a 3, just like the plot. The episode was really pointless. The episode was pointless, boring, and the episode felt like it was really phoned in. So, really, this episode wasn't enjoyable. It was kind of meh. No, not even meh. It was worse than meh. It was absolute garbage. This episode is absolute garbage. And if you're a fan of this episode, then that's alright. But I don't like this episode. So I'm rating this episode really, really low. And here are the episode ratings for this episode. Plot gets a 3, characterization gets a 4, visuals get a 3, importance gets a 5, and entertainment gets a 3. So basically, this episode was really, really bad. So, I'm sorry if this episode is your favourite episode of Series 1 so far. This episode is my least favourite episode. I think it's the worst episode of the series so far. So, yeah. Dalek, it's really bad. This episode was really bad. But that's just my opinion. I do appreciate the viewer's opinion. And if you like this episode, then that's okay. But I think this episode is bad. But there you go. So, that was Aliens of London, World War III and Dalek. If you enjoyed this video, then great. And, is the long game as bad as everyone says? Join me next time for another Doctor Who breakdown.